Welcome to my channel. My name is Lisa. This is my third video on the life coaching series. I will be talking about overcoming obstacles and challenges and Edward de Bono's lateral thinking theory, where he actually uses a technique, a six hat colored technique to broaden your perspectives. So the ideas here on my videos are to take control, or to help you to take control of your destiny, manage your time better, find balance, identify opportunities, and find an overall sense of well-being and move you in a valued direction. So this particular video, again, is about focusing on overcoming obstacles and challenges. At the onset of change, there is generally conflict and resistance. So we'll be talking about how conflict is actually advantageous, or it can be advantageous. So it does allow you to see more than one solution, to see different perspectives of a situation, and to redirect and modify your goal, path, or tweak it as necessary to overcome those obstacles or challenges. So it doesn't have to be a negotiation with another person necessarily. It can be a negotiation that you're trying to resolve for yourself. So consider that, even though I might be talking a little more second and third party, this could also be just dialogue that you have with yourself, and you have to find a solution for a problem, so you're looking at it from different angles. So broader minds basically provide a more expansive awareness of the issues and viewpoints, which can provide a more efficient solution. So conflict presents itself oftentimes as a strong emotional attachment to our beliefs, our ideas, our values, and it often revolves around our sense of self-worth. So not being heard can lead to further frustration or not being understood. So therefore, communication is really important. We might think that we're being understood, but unless we're actually able to reframe the other person's wording to let them know that we actually are, receiving it in the way that they intended, it would be difficult to be sure that we are actually understanding their level of communication. So communication really important. You want to seek a way to broaden your perspectives and to understand others before having them understand you. So if you can understand somebody else's point of view, it makes it a little easier for you to find a way to approach them with your concerns. So again, you want to stay focused on the communication being factual, rational. You want to stay away from personalizing the issues and heated emotional debates, because the whole point there is to try to problem solve. And again, if you're doing this on an individual basis, you still want to be creative, and you still want to look at things from various angles so that you are allowing for more than one solution. Because if you're always looking from a point of safety, what is the best solution if you were trying to resolve something from a safety perspective, then you're always going to come up with just that one solution. So again, you have to try to see yourself in a different light. So there are some boundaries around communicating and negotiating. So boundaries, knowing what to say, what not to say, considering a time and space for the two of you that is on neutral ground, so nobody feels that they're on somebody else's territory and that they have some additional leverage. You want everybody not to be tired and exhausted, so you want it to be a time of the day where you both feel like you're fresh and able to actually discuss things without being short, and you're okay to start to flesh it out. So if you're really worn down, you're not going to flesh out ideas. You're going to stand a little more rigid in your position. So you want to know what the issues are going in. You want to be able to properly address those issues and not go off on tangents. You want to stay to a few points, priority concerns, short list. You want to listen and ask questions, be an active listener, so allow the other person to finish what their mode of thought was, so that you're not interjecting. Oh, I know what you're saying. That tends to minimize what somebody else is trying to convey to you, and it also stops the thought process. Again, reframing issues, so that reframing the issues that the person has conveyed to you so that you understand them well enough that the other person feels you also that they have been heard. You want to be finding common ground. So again, you're not there to try to persuade somebody into believing what you believe. This is a functional conflict, so it's oriented around improving performance and finding a beneficial outcome for everyone in general. You're not there to be hurtful, to dominate, use harsh words, cutting remarks, loud tones, because you might win that little battle, but you won't win the war. So the whole point is to develop trust with the other person, and that comes from small wins. And by win, it doesn't mean that you got the 50% and they got the 50%. By win, I mean the other person might get 70% and you only get 30%. But win means that you developed a trust so that you can negotiate down the road with bigger issues. And in fact, you might actually end up with that 70% versus the 30. So again, it's about building trust and finding common ground. You're trying to establish a rapport. So there are many conflict resolution strategies, and depending on the situation, having an awareness of the other person that you're dealing with, maybe understanding their values, their belief system, their culture, their business. For example, if somebody is really detail-oriented and you come in with a sweeping, broad, creative idea, they're not going to be, they won't necessarily trust in your idea because you haven't fleshed it out. There's not a lot of detail for them to be able to relate to that. So again, knowing some of those factors. And the whole idea is to get the other person to be receptive and cooperative and to feel understood. So seek to understand them before you're conveying all your points to be understood. That way you have a better chance of moving forward, and there's that degree of trust that's inherent. So initial disagreements need to have some boundaries so that there's not a lot of heightened emotion or aggressive responses. Okay, so other things to consider when dealing with conflict would be, how does this person generally deal with conflict? Do they avoid conflict? If you can't discuss the issues, how can you resolve them? So you want to start small with just a couple of issues, short intervals, allow people to speak uninterrupted. Be an active listener rather than defending your position. Allow some time between things, between the issues, to ponder either a day or two or reconvene in a week so that you both have a chance to consider the other person's perspective. Some people need a chance to actually consider that so that they are not so staunchly rigid and rooted in their position. So that they are able to wrap their head around another perspective. So you want to think about compromise. You want to think about the things that you both could contribute. If the other person is really competitive, it does make it difficult if you're in a group situation, because a competitive person tends to want to prevail. Therefore, some of the strategies you could use would be to remove the person from that group situation, that group dynamic, do a one-on-one, and you might find that they're more receptive, more open-minded in trying to find another opportunity to discuss a situation. But anyway, the other part of it is you don't want to be over-controlling, over-accommodating. You are both co-creating. So your solution needs to be worded in such a way that the other person is open-minded enough to take the idea and consider it. So again, when you're co-creating a solution, the wording matters. Take the time to step back before responding. Conflict allows you to learn about another person. So use it in a way that it's an instrument to find that middle ground. So on to Edward de Bono's lateral thinking. Creativity is where you find a lot of your solutions, and it helps you to strategize. Edward de Bono was a physician, psychologist, author, inventor, and consultant, and he was the one that developed lateral thinking, and he wrote on a technique that was called the 6 thinking hats. So they were characterized by 6 colored hats that allow you to consider alternate perspectives with. The red hat is where you look at the situation emotionally and what are your feelings telling you. The white hat is where you objectively review the facts. The yellow hat is where you frame things in a positive light and you try to look for the things that are actually working from that positive frame of mind. And in contrast, the black hat, which is the negative perspective, where you're looking for the elements that actually stymie any kind of resolve. So then there's the green hat, which is the creative hat, where you're coming up with alternative solutions and ideas. And then there's the blue hat, and that's thinking broadly, and you've considered things and what's the best overall solution. So again, you can look at this and apply it to a negotiation or in just trying to resolve your own issues. Again, thinking about the red hat, the white hat, the green hat, the blue hat, the yellow and the black hat helps you to take another perspective, another angle for your own solution, finding over obstacles or challenges. So hopefully this video gives you a little insight and a few cues that can help you to face those challenges, move forward, and add to your personal development toolbox.